Hello, my name's Sarah and I am the author of this book that you have just clicked on, How Not to Murder Your ADHD Kid. Instead, learn to be your child's own ADHD coach. I'm really passionate about people reading this book. I wrote this because, believe it or not, I'm an ex-prison counsellor. And when I was working in the prisons, I was staggered to find the amount of ADHD people in there. The vast majority of them not diagnosed, but some of them diagnosed ADHD as children, and then most often not on the meds by the time they get to sort of late teens. A lot of parents take them off the meds when they get to late teens, and a lot of teenagers don't want to take the meds when they're late teens, and that's when they get into trouble. So the prisons and the young offender institutes I was working in were packed, and I mean packed to the rafters with ADHD, either diagnosed or not diagnosed. And this upset me a lot, especially when I was 51 and I was diagnosed with ADHD myself. And I realised why I got on so well with all these boys, because I'm the same. I am a risk taker. I am a thrill seeker. I do hate authority. I loathe being told what to do, and I always think I know best. So that's why I got on so well with all these boys in prison. But it broke my heart that they were all in there. They didn't need to be in there. They weren't rapists, murderers. They weren't anything sort of what you would call serious crime. They were all in there for silly things like nicking cars, criminal damage, getting into fights, all the sort of things that their natural ADHD had led them into in their teens, when the testosterone kicks in and they start kicking the odd thing or nicking the odd car, and then bang, they're in prison. So it upset me so much that I thought, I've got to help these boys. What do I do apart from counselling them and coaching them, which I was doing? I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll write a book for the parents. I'll write a book for the parents so that when these kids are young, these parents understand their brains better, because most of these boys didn't have parents who understood them. A lot of them didn't have parents at all. Some came from the care system, but a lot of them had parents who didn't understand their ADHD, and they tried to, as I call it, knock it out of them and stop them being ADHD. That's never going to happen. You're never going to stop somebody being ADHD. It's a brain wiring. We're born with it, we die with it. So you can't knock it out of people, excuse me, but what you can do is you can learn to understand it. And that's what this book's all about. It explains exactly what ADHD is. It explains what the 3 different kinds are, and then it explains loads and loads of traits. So it will go into all the different situations you'll find yourself at home and link it to an ADHD trait and explain to you what's going on in your child's brain, and then it will tell you how to handle it best, and also, very importantly, what not to do, what will bring on a meltdown or a punch or a thump. So it's very, very specific, this book. It's very practical. Tells you literally what to do when they won't eat, when they won't sleep, when they start kicking their brother or their sister, when they won't go to school. It's very, very specific, and it goes through all these situations at home. And I've worked with hundreds of teenage clients, literally hundreds. And there's a lot of case studies in this book of kids who are kicking off, hating their family, hating their stepdads, not going to school, all sorts of things. And I've told you in the book exactly how the parents handled it, what worked and what went really well and why it went well, and also what didn't go well and what you really shouldn't do. So I'm passionate about people reading this book because I'm passionate about people understanding their child's brain. Because if you get it right and you understand their brain and you work with their ADHD, not against it, and you don't try and battle it and knock it out of them and try and make them be normal, they can't. They are going to be ADHD. But if you work with that and you accept all the traits and you use them in the right way, these people, these kids of yours, they can turn into people like will.i.am, who is diagnosed ADHD. Ant McPartlin of Ant and Dec, he is diagnosed ADHD. Richard Branson, Jamie Oliver, all these very successful people are ADHD. They don't like being told what to do either. They don't respect authority. They all work for themselves. Most of us do. I have done since I was 25. Most ADHD people don't like being told what to do, so most of them are self-employed. But if you understand your child's brain, and that's what this book will do for you, you will then be able to encourage them into the right careers, taking the right GCSEs for starters, then into the right careers that are going to work for them, and then into a successful life. This is what this book does. Tells you how to do all of that and to set them on the right path so that they end up being one of these very successful sports stars, singers. Half of Hollywood is ADHD. Most comedians on television you see are ADHD. Rob Beckett, Lee Mack, Russell Brand, all ADHD. So this book is massively about getting your children on the right path and you understanding their brain and helping them succeed in life. So if you're going to buy it, I applaud you. Thank you for reading it and thank you for trying to understand your child's ADHD brain.